All right, folks. As you'll notice, we are pointed down at the counter today because we're going to kind of binging with Babish this. I want to give you a better look at what we're doing and less my ugly mug. So today specifically, we are putting ribeyes into the vacuum packer. So we got these. Those of you in the know where. And we're going to put them in sous vide eventually. Ribeye, as you know, comes from a cow. These actually rest on the outside of the rib cage, just behind the shoulder, on the top of the cow, if I remember correctly. And they do have a little bit of connective tissue, but you will notice that they also have wonderful marbling, and so they usually come out very, very flavorful and with a lot of beefiness. I mean, obviously, it's a cow. It should taste beefy. So what we're going to do first is we're going to season these. And it is going to look like I'm putting way too much salt on here. But keep in mind that these are pretty thick. These are about an inch or so thick steaks. And they do need a reasonable amount of salt. If you like, you can also put a little bit of ground pepper on, which I do. And from here, it's kind of optional what you want to do. I'm going to give them just the very lightest little sprinkle with a little bit of garlic powder. This is completely optional. You do not need to do this. Arguably a really good steak stands up on its own and tastes great almost naked, except for the salt. You have to have salt. Do both sides. You want to make sure you get both sides well seasoned, and then add your spices if you like. Like I said, I'm going to put a little bit more garlic here, or pepper and then garlic. And this is just a little bit of garlic because I don't want to overwhelm this meat. It's going to taste really good by itself. Next step, putting them in the bags. These are a couple of bags that I've got from my other vacuum sealer. Kind of a cheat. Once you've made your seal on the one end, I suggest actually turning the other end inside out a little bit, because you want this where it's in contact. You want this part that's in contact with the heating element and with the suction to not be wet, to not have anything on it. The cleaner this band is, the better seal you're going to end up with in here. So that's why I always try to fold these back. So let's go ahead and stick these in here real quick. And try to keep a nice clean workspace if you can. Alright, so these are in the bags. Fold them back right side out. Now, most of the time, these bags, they're pretty standard amongst all the different types and brand names of vacuum sealer. But you will notice that they do have a textured side and a smooth side. I'm not certain that it actually makes any difference, but I always try to make sure that the textured side is down. Now, the sealer itself, this little copper strip in the front, this is the heating element. This is what's going to actually seal the bag. And then you notice this little kind of foam gasket that's here and also on the lid. This is what makes the seal, and then you're actually pulling air out of this little nozzle, and everything inside of here is going to get negative pressure, and that's what's going to suck your air out. So always make sure that the end of your bag is inside of this gasket. Otherwise you won't get a seal, you won't get any suction. So hold it down, and then press the button. This one's really taking a while to suck. We doing anything wrong here? I'll be honest, this is the first time I'm using this one. There we go. Apparently I wasn't getting a hard seal. Apparently I'm still not getting a hard seal. Would you pause it for a moment? Okay, so we have learned that I should read the instructions on this new machine before I use it. I shouldn't just assume that it works like the other one I have. Also, it has slightly different textured bags. The ones that come with it are smooth on the inside, on the outside, and they're only textured on the inside. But it should still work with one of my old bags. The trick is you have to push all the way down until you hear it click on both sides, and there's a release on both sides, and this is now held in place. It should work. Ta-da!
RTFM.
All right, read the... yes. All right. So at this point, it's done. And it's now going to seal. And as you can see on this one, it just has a nice little melt point where it puts both sides together. And this steak is now... I'm not going to say it's under negative pressure, but there is no more air in that bag. All right, it's done. The seal, the lights are off. Click. Good to go. Now, we're not going to cook these tonight. I just wanted to get the seasoning on them, get the salt, get the pepper, and I'm going to throw them in the fridge. Now, things to consider for when you cook this. You'll notice that all I put in there was salt and pepper because anything else, you can experiment if you want, but it's going to start to detract more than you gain. For example, I know a lot of people like to put a big pat of butter inside of here. That is not the same as butter basting. If you've ever had a butter basted steak and you know how amazing that is, the basting of that butter is happening under very high heat. You're caramelizing some of the milk fats. You're also getting the nice Maillard reaction on the steak and getting the browning and the crispness. That is not happening in the sous vide. That butter is actually going to permeate into the meat and alter the flavor of the steak. Some people like that, some people don't. It's kind of up to you. It would be an interesting thing to do a pat of butter on one and not in the other and compare the two and see if you could tell the difference. But once you can taste that butter in there, you never can't taste it again. You can always tell if you had a butter in your sous vide. But we're going to throw these into the fridge and just let them sit in there until we have a chance to put these in sous vide. These are probably good for another couple days now. And when we do get ready to sous vide these, we're actually going to take them out and let them come back to room temperature before we throw them back in the sous vide. Not required. I just think it makes it, they cook faster. Or better, I should say. So tune in. We will be doing this later this week. Thanks for watching.